Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are here for another one of your questions about work. And in this case, the question is coming from somebody with whom I have collaborated on some projects, Peter. And Peter and I first met, for those of you here for the first time, Roy, startup investor in the future work. Peter and I met when he was working at a group of which I'm a member called the Council on Technology and Society, which is a group of tech leaders who try to learn learn the things we need to learn about how social, political, cultural issues work so we can make the world a better place. And then we act on those issues. And we worked on Walk the Vote, the Get Out the Vote program that we did for getting people to do parades. And Peter is now a math teacher and a college student, which the fact that you did all this at once is kind of amazing. And so this is a question that I feel like a lot of people, including people earlier in their careers, face. But Peter, anything else you want to share about you? But otherwise, fire away with the question.
Yeah, so I think I'm on this call because I have a lot of experience doubting whether I have enough experience to speak up in meetings, which for me comes from often being the youngest person on my team. So yeah, the question that we're looking up today is how can I speak up in meetings when I'm nervous too? And yeah. I'm sort of approaching that from being the youngest on the team, but I think that can come from a lot of different places.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked before on this about kind of strategies for understanding what is happening in a meeting. But like, if I think about my own experience, it's like you're sitting there, you're like, I get people are talking. I don't really know what's happening in terms of like, what are the ulterior motives of why did they say that? Or are they just arguing over something? And I've been told I should speak up, but I don't know how. And I don't want to be the person who says that thing and then has that like dead silence moment where everybody just looks at you. So the first thing I would just say is, if you want to get better at participating, you got to practice participating. And if you practice participating, you're going to say stupid stuff. And if you say stupid stuff, people are going to give you that look. And so if you go into it thinking, I never want to get that look, you just won't grow as much as if you're willing to just bite the bullet and say, you know what, I'll jump in and say things or offer things, but I won't want to upset people or something like that. And then I'll just offer there are easier ways to contribute to a meeting and harder ways. Oftentimes people put too much pressure on themselves to be the person who like delivers the answer or resolves the question, or like another way we could look at this is. And oftentimes the most effective things people do in meetings, and I still do this all the time, is like ask a clarifying question. When you say that, what did you mean? Or can you say more about that? And that's the kind of question that even the person who feels the least powerful at the table in any well-run meeting, if anybody in the room doesn't understand what's happening, they should feel authorized to ask, because the idea is everybody's there. Because unless your purpose in the meeting, by the way, is just to be an observer, in which case then like question whether, it's appropriate for you to even speak up. And, you can speak up even if it's inappropriate if you have a goal for it. But I think we're talking about situations where you believe there's an expectation to speak up and you just haven't quite done it yet. So those are my two basic things, is like prepare to take the punch in the face and recognize that not all ways of speaking up are equally challenging, and pick something less challenging to start with. I've heard, by the way, and here we are, just one last thing before you, like, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, is here we are like two white guys talking about it. So even if we're intimidated, there are other of speaking up, there are plenty of other forms of people's discomfort. I have heard women give women the input that like, change your tone to pretend that you're feeling more angry than you are. I'm not a woman, so I have no idea if that's good advice or terrible advice, but I just want to name that there are forms of advice that may not apply to you and me that we should just acknowledge.
Yeah,
anyway, but we'd love to hear.
No, but I like what you were saying about, I kind of, you speaking up, you need to like get wins on the board and good comments to build confidence, but you also need to get losses on the board to learn how you can participate. I'll also say that like there are reasons why, and getting into this, there are reasons why you feel uncomfortable speaking up that you like may not be able to solve. And for me, like I've been in situations where being the youngest on the team, in meetings, I can't get taken seriously, or I feel disrespected, and that can be a reason to start thinking about like, do we need to have a broader conversation?
And by the way, I'm not going to tell you you're imagining that either. Like I've definitely been in meetings where somebody spoke up and I was like, God damn it, why the fuck is that person talking? It's just wasting time for all of us. And so like, let's just acknowledge that does happen.
Yeah. But I also think like I've worked with great people who build me up where I still get, nervous and struggle. And so
Totally.
I'll just add to some of your ideas for sort of practical that have worked for me. In sort of like team meetings or stand-up meetings, I think a plant question where, the person who's leading the meeting or someone you feel comfortable with can just give you a question that you can knock out of
Right.
the
Is there
park.
anything that would be helpful to you if I asked or answered or something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah, totally.
Um,
I like that.
and that can just signal to other folks that you're in the meeting with, like just signals your role, what you're doing, and you can plan that out if you have sort of a confidant who you can
Right.
work that out with.
Totally. I
And
love
I've
that.
used that. Yeah, I've used that before, and it's really well. I think another thing is just, especially with regular meetings, trying to get to know the folks in the meeting. Whether that's like if it's a regular meeting, reaching out to them to sort of meet up one-on-one. If it's I've been included in meetings where I don't know the person coming in, so just researching and getting to know them, coming in with some knowledge, that really helps, I think. And then to go to your point about comments that are sort of, I think asking questions is great. I think praising people for their additions can be a way where even if you don't really know what's going on, you can step in and voice, your
Oh, I
excitement
love
about
that.
something someone else said, and it's just an easy way. It's hard to mess up when you're praising someone.
Yeah, no, I love that. I appreciate that, or thank you. And I'll just add one other little interruption there, which is even nonverbal participation counts. You know, like, that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. Like, you don't necessarily have to compose a sentence that would be in the transcript of the meeting in order to be, especially with in-person meetings, but also even over this kind of thing. It's like sometimes just the animalistic presence of you in the meeting can be a thing. Sorry, I didn't mean
totally.
to interrupt.
And yeah, stuff like that can energize the meeting. I think it's really important. And then the last one that I think can be empowering for me is just like, even if I don't even know what the content of the conversation is, like going back to someone's point that I feel like got ignored, and bringing that back to the fore. That can be, it sort of allows me to notice and sort of ally with someone else in the meeting, and bring their point back, even if I'm not sure what's going on or I don't feel confident. Like that is, it's hard to, I think, praise and doing something like that where you're like, I think Allie's point got ignored, and like, let's go back to that. It's hard. Those are hard ones to make a mistake on, and for those to not be valuable if you're nervous that you
Yeah,
don't
I
have
like that.
valuable things to say.
I like that. I think those are all incredible perspectives. And look, what we're doing here, the reason I'll just say why we call this is not advice, is because we're not saying like, here's the prescription for exactly how to do it. We're offering our experiences. By the way, in this case, we're even acknowledging the fact that our experiences, while they may apply to many, do not fully apply to everybody and are certainly incomplete. And, give somebody a way to think about it. And I think sometimes all you want is that very first thread. I find this, by the way, just in a quick analogy, and then I'll be quiet. I find this also with difficult emails to write. Like on our team, we're often like, how do we turn down a founder? Well, it's like somebody telling you, like, here's one way I did it. Here's a word choice that can work. Those defaults, even if you choose to adapt them and make them your own, can be really powerful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I just find like stories of how people have navigated these types of things as someone who, yeah, finds themselves, nervous about speaking up in meetings. The stories are really helpful, even if they're not prescriptive. Just
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's how we learn. We learn through the magical technology of stories. All right, Peter. Well, that was fun to do that with you, and open invitation anytime. And it's just nice to have an excuse to see you again. And I like the math stuff behind you, even if it's just a prop.
yes,
It looks like you
my
teach
high
math.
school pre-calculus.
It looks like you teach math. So I'm just going to